Welcome to the channel. This is going to be my review or overview, my opinion piece on the movie from a streaming service. The streaming service is, as you see up here, Apple Plus or Apple TV. It dropped on last Friday. I watched it, and this is what I think of the show. Um, Warning, spoilers. There will be spoilers in this, where as I talk about things, I will reveal stuff that hasn't been shown in the trailer. But a lot of what I talk to is simply from the trailers. Okay, so the movie is The Gorge. What's it about? It's about the gorge. Uh, Sort of a goofy way of saying it, but it's about what's in the gorge and the efforts of two individuals to keep what's in the. It's like Vegas. What's in the gorge stays in the gorge. So it's an interesting show in itself, in that it's got starts off as a bit of a romance. Yeah, you could call it a romance. Then it morphs into action, and after action, it becomes a horror show, ending in a romance. So it's an interesting way to do it, but um, it's good. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it for if you have a subscription, for sure. Go watch it. It's better than paying $20 to go see the new Captain America flick. At least this one makes sense mostly. Okay, so what do I like about it? I like about it the cast. So here's Miles Taylor. He's been in a lot of stuff. He's a pretty good actor. He plays Levi, which is an American ex-Marine, retired Marine, but he's now into he does contract work for various contract security forces. So he's been in a lot of stuff. Maverick, he was in the latest Maverick with Tom Cruise. Um, he was in War Dogs, Fantastic Four, the latest Fantastic Four. He was in the Divergent series. So quite a few things. And he's generally considered a serviceable actor. I had no problem with his acting in this. I thought he did fine. Um, then oops, the other person in this show, the other lead is stop here, um, Anya Taylor Joy. She's a very good actress. I never know when to say actor or actress, but she's been in Furiosa. She was in Dune Part 2 for like a second. Super Mario Brothers movie. I'm just looking at her credits. Amsterdam, Peaky Blinders, um, The Queen's Gambit. That was a mini series that was very well thought of by most people. She basically played a chess genius, somebody who had to um, worry about or having problems with substance abuse, but she was also a chess genius. Anyways, she plays a Russian sniper. So both of these individuals are snipers, and they're very good. You see Anya at the start of the show taking out a target. You'd never see Miles shoot until later on in the show, but the understanding that he's good. So this is the start of the show where Anya wakes up in a blind. This jet lands, and she whacks this guy. One of the one of the things or holes in the writing is, why does this jet happen to stop just exactly where she needs it to stop? Well, because the writing needs it. But anyways, she doesn't seem very bothered with what she does. Her character name is Darsha, Dadrasa, Darsha. Anyways, she doesn't seem to be too bothered by what she does, whereas Levi Miles, he wakes up in a cold sweat nights. He spends a lot of time staring off into the distance. Um, when they're recruiting him, they talk about him going to see his shrink, which he stopped doing because he doesn't think it really helps. And they talk about him potentially taking drugs, and he says it screws up his aim, so he doesn't do that. So he's having trouble living with what he does, where she doesn't seem to have the same struggles. Although she does have this dude. This is like her mentor, I think, where she can at least talk to him, whereas Levi, I don't think has anybody to talk to, so that's why he's kind of screwed up. Anyways, they both get recruited to be involved in this the Gorge. Basically, they're going to uh, be in watchtowers at either side of the gorge, and their job is to maintain the equipment that is keeping things in the gorge, and shoot anything that tries to get out. Sigourney Weaver's in the show, which is good. I like Sigourney Weaver. Uh, Her role though could have been done by anybody, but she needs a paycheck just like anybody else, and she's definitely good at what she does for that 2 minutes she's in the show. She's in the show at the start and she's in the show at the end. But anyway, she recruits him and he wakes up in this plane because they don't want him to know where the gorge is. He dumps out and he meets this British soldier who is a guy that's in JD. He's a British para and he was assigned this place before um, Levi comes and takes over for him, basically. So the whole point of JD being here is he gives a bit of background to Levi. So he tells him what he has to do, which is keep the ammunition stocked in the miniguns that are up and down the gorge, and keep the mines working and that are strung along the gorge, and keep the cloaking device. Yes, they have a cloaking device, and that's why nobody knows about the gorge. Although, you know, that there's something, and they mentioned about satellites. When the satellites come over, the cloaking devices kick in and mask it somehow. They never really explain it. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but who cares? Um, and then I think he mentions that if the cloaking devices ever go offline, the failsafe kicks in, and he doesn't tell him what the failsafe is. But it's, you can think that it's potentially not very good. So Levi is like, yeah, okay, okay, okay. So what the hell am I here for, kind of thing. And so that's the tower. There's the binoculars. That's really the only way he can keep tabs on um, Darsha, who's over on the other side. That's how they build their relationship. So he wants to know why he's here, and JD takes this grenade, throws it over, and you hear these creatures screeching. So he gets the idea that maybe there's something not too good in the gorge, and JD says it's this is the gate to hell, and you're there to keep the door closed. So, anyways, after that, it moves to just Levi doing his job, checking out everything, walking up and down the side, and he is curious about the woman on the other side that he spied. So again, he's watching her through binoculars, and she seems to know every time he's looking at her, even though she's not using binoculars, which is, again, kind of one of the dumb things that they have in the script. But you can see them marking off the days and keeping busy. Uh, they're told again that they weren't supposed to contact each other, but it's her birthday and she's lonely, and she basically reaches out to him using a big pad of paper. So um, he responds back, "We're not allowed to contact." Now this bit of the trailer is out of sequence because he does actually communicate to her before she takes a shot at the little bottle there. Basically, at that point, they're just comparing dick size, sort of, in that they're both supposed to be really good snipers, and they're sort of comparing. You actually see that they're good snipers because they take some pretty good shots. Like she's just using basically, I think it's like an AK-12 or something like that, which is not particularly known for being a sniping rifle. Whereas he's got looks like a Barrett 50 cal sniping rifle, which is a bit of an overkill. He walks around with an M4 just as a patrol weapon. There is weapons there. Anyways, they are they are getting along. She builds a snowman, puts a Levi sign, and he basically builds a snow woman and puts her name. They're playing chess. He finds all this stuff from other people who've been here. Anyways, as part of her birthday celebration, she's got the Ramones blasting and dancing around and wants him to dance. And he's like, a lot of guys, no, I don't dance. And this is when this scene happens where she's pointing down. And this is the first time we get to see what's in the gorge, which is some barely humanoid forms trying to get out. Basically, he starts letting go with his M4, and she's got a big honking Russian machine gun, and she fires across the gorge, helping him keep the creatures at bay. Um, and then he, in turn, after he's got most of his done, he blows a few of the mines. He looks over and sees that they're crawling up her side. So he has a 50 cal there, and he starts blasting away. And you saw that arm come up there, so she's defending herself. But they survive, and sort of the next day, he is out repairing the damage caused by the mine, and he sees this drone and very badly CGI. So one of the things that isn't necessarily great in this is the CGI is just okay. It's not the greatest. It comes and goes. Creatures don't look too bad, but there's a lot of other stuff, and the drone looks particularly cartoonish, or looks like it's poor CGI. Um, so, anyways, their relationship builds. One of the things I've heard some people say about it is it's pretty predictable, the movie, the how it's going to be, and I would agree with that, but not necessarily horribly bad. You just kind of know in advance what's going to happen, so you know that the two of them, the two snipers, are going to sort of fall for each other, which they do. I even when JD is leaving, show him getting picked up by a helicopter, and I thought, yeah, they're not going to let him get out. Sure enough, they shoot JD, and that's probably the fate for Levi and Darsha. But anyways, there's that. So he finally, Levi figures out a way to run a cable across the gorge, and you could see that coming. That eventually has to come across and try to meet her, which he does. And you also know that he's going to fall into if you watch the trailers, you see that he falls into the gorge. But you knew that was going to happen anyways. But there's a rope that he gets across, and he's gone across, and he has dinner with her and a little bit of fooling around, and then they have to do a radio check once a month. So he's going back for the radio check, and I thought originally that maybe somebody on his side had knocked the cable down, but you see that it was actually one of the critters came up and set off one of the mines, and it blows away the cable. So they fall into the gorge, and that's when it goes from romance to action. So you have these two very capable people down in the gorge. A lot of monsters appear, and they have to fight them off. So it becomes, like I've heard people say, like a video game. And yeah, maybe like little bit of a video game-ish type thing. You're shooting the different types of critters, creepy crawlies, and they keep getting tougher and tougher. But what they do find out what's going on with the gorge. Um, I guess this is the spoiler part. There's actually a town down there, or was a town. So you found out from JD that these two towers have been here. This agreement was made between the powers right near the end of the Second World War. So there's a lot of people, when Levi's looking at the wall and seeing all the writing there, that some of it goes back significantly. Um, and the other thing is, when they run into some of these creatures, they have uniforms on, and they look at the uniforms, and they can tell by the badging and stuff on it, which is kind of when JD told Levi that they'd sent a special forces team in at the end of the Second World War, and they didn't come out. And then you see these creatures. Immediately I thought, oh, I bet you that's the people that special forces people, and sure enough, it was. So all these creatures are people from that have gone into the gorge. So you find out um, why that is, what happened. There's a film that gets left. They get into a research center when they're fighting off all the creepy crawlies. There's a film by somebody. There's always a film to explain everything. But they do discover new tech down there, like computers that are from the 2020s, they say. So obviously, and again, kind of a thing that, yeah, Sigourney Weaver's character is maybe not telling you everything, and of course, she isn't. So they figure out that somebody's been coming here and looking into the research. So basically, spoiler, the Gorge was a research center set up sort of for bioweapons in conjunction with Oppenheimer's. He set up like a little town for his atomic bomb studies. This is the equivalent for bioweapons. However, there was a earthquake and the study materials got loose, infected everyone, and resulted in the creatures that they end up fighting. But also, it gets into animals and foliage and everything else. So it's this whole mix of scary stuff, and that's what they have to fight their way out of. They determine that they need to get the f out of there, because in the film it says, short-term exposure is fine, but if it's more than, you know, the longer you stay, the more likely you get affected and turned into one of these creatures. So they have to get out, and you see them trying to get out, and there's where the bad CGI reappears, but they do eventually get out. And then they decide they have to separate for this is some of the good action, but they have to separate for 5 days, because if they haven't been infected by the 5 days, then they're probably okay. So they agree that that's what they're going to do. But Sigourney Weaver appears again and asks Levi if he went down into the gorge. He says no. So they said, well, there's some equipment down there that turned on, so it must have been the person on the other side. You have to go shoot her. And he goes, sure, I'll shoot her. But she pretty well figures out he's not going to shoot her. So she assembles a team and heads out to get rid of them both. And at that point, they had determined that they are going to expose the gorge, because they can't have, even though they're going to leave their post, they can't have somebody else coming in being, have to do what they are doing and potentially get infected or something like that. And they can't allow um, the things in the gorge to get out. They had found out that there is a self-destruct there that will. JD had told them that if the cloaking stuff goes down, then the whatever final solution protocol kicks in. He didn't explain what it was, but when they were down there, they see this huge bomb, which they assume is nuclear, and they find some materials that tells them they have to be 4.8 miles away or kilometers away to be safe. So they set off mines that destroy the cloaking device. That kicks in the protocol, and then they run. So you see them running, and the bad guys send drones after them and everything else. You see that Anya gets out safe, but Levi is just making it when he gets knocked down by the nuclear blast that destroys the gorge. You don't know for sure whether he makes it. And then again, this is one of the things that you can see coming from a mile. Of course, he makes it, and they meet up at the end. But all in all, yeah, good show. The two main characters, they look proficient in what they do. Their action is believable. Their gunfights are good, even though it's against green screen stuff and creepy crawlies and CGI, but it's believable. There isn't a lot of other characters that have much in the way of anything to say. There's every the other characters that you see in the movie, they're there for like 10 seconds, usually just to do something, and then they're gone. Like there's the bad guys that go at the end to hunt Levi. They're there for a few seconds before they all die. Um, Sigourney Weaver is probably got the next most amount, and again, you can kind of guarantee or you understand what she's the evil person who is working for a private company rather than the U.S. government, which is what Levi thought. And JD is then the only other person with any kind of role, and he's just there for he's there to fill us in on what's going on and die to show that the something's up with this situation. But yeah, so story is good, even though sometimes it has to write itself around some things. Some things have to happen just to progress the story, which is showing a little bit weakness in the writing. But other than that, yeah, it's again entertaining enough that if you have an Apple subscription, which I do, I got some when I bought a device, and then I extended it because I wanted to see Silo, the second season of Silo, and so because I have a subscription, this is worth it to watch. Some good action in it when they're fighting off the creatures. And again, it is predictable. The two of them are going to, of course, fall in love. The two of them are going to, or somebody's going to get across the gorge. Ultimately, they have to go into the gorge. And of course, if you watch some of the trailers, like I'm showing you here, ultimately, if you saw the trailers, you see that they actually must have gone into the gorge at some point and must have gone across. And again, this relationship that they build in between. But yeah, it's a nice little time waster. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. Marking 7 out of 10. It's not perfect. There's some predictability to it, but the performances are good. The story is reasonable. The action is reasonable. The horror element and stuff like that. Yeah, it's good. So that's I recommend this movie. All right, thanks.